I was doing the touring production of Rent. Well, I did the final company of Rent on Broadway. I did the last year and a half on Broadway, which was then shot as a DVD, as a movie. It was Rent filmed live on Broadway. I was part of that company, and then many members of that company went on tour to do Rent the Broadway tour with Anthony Rapp and Adam Pascal. And when we were in Los Angeles, actually, many of us got to meet Neil Patrick Harris, who's our director for the show, because he's part of the Rent family as well. He played Mark, I think, in one of the first national tours that started out in La Jolla. And so he's a member of the Rent family. He's a Rent alum. And a lot of us got to meet him in LA then, and then, fast forward almost a year, and I heard about this production happening at the Hollywood Bowl, and then a lot of us were called into audition. We were going to audition again because it was going to be a brand new production under Neil, but definitely in keeping with the traditions of what Rent was, especially because Neil was a member of the family. So at the audition, it was Neil, it was the folks from the Hollywood Bowl, but then also the Larsons were there. Jonathan Larson's father was also there, and our original music director, Tim Weil, who was the original music director from 14 years ago, was also there. So it's a new production, yet keeping some of the members of the old team, because Neil is also an alum of that version of Rent. So and I auditioned just like everybody else, and then they called and said that they'd like me to play Angel. So that started out as an understudy for Angel on Broadway, and then I went on for the role quite a lot on Broadway. I did it also on tour quite a bit. Angel's not new to me at all, and it's a character that I love visiting all the time. But I remember when they first started teaching me the role of Angel on Broadway, my dance captain at the time, Owen Johnston, said to me, it would be really great if you started running, if you started singing and running at the same time, and he says this to all the Mimis and the Angels, he says, it's probably a good idea for you to get your cardio up so that you don't feel out of breath and winded by the end of today for you. And I thought that was great advice, and I took him up on it, that I felt like I really had to also just be healthy and be able to do that, and I would go running and I'd sing the song. People would look at me funny in New York, but it really helped. It'd be very different in that we have a lot of people that have never done the show before. For example, Vanessa Hudgens has never done the show before, and Nicole Scherzinger has never done the show before. I don't believe Wayne Brady's ever done the show before. I don't think Skylar Astin's ever done the show before. So it's going to be a very interesting group of people, along with folks that are Rent alumni that have done the show before. So it's, but also I think I'm very excited to see what Neil has in store for us, because I'm sure he has some innovative ideas about how we can kind of stay true to what Rent was, but also do it our own way at the Hollywood Bowl. It's also just a unique venue. Rent started in a small theater downtown, and then moved to the Nederlander, where it was less intimate, and now we're in one of the least intimate spaces. If you were in a giant space, we're at Hollywood Bowl, one of the biggest venues in the country. So I'm sure there will be differences due to the venue as well. But also, because of the nature of the Hollywood Bowl, and we've had to make cuts to the show, so it will be a slightly shortened show than what Rent fans are used to. No, I've never worked with Vanessa or Nicole ever, and I'm so excited. I mean, I'm fans of theirs, of course, from High School Musical or from Pussycat Dolls. I'm also a big Wayne Brady fan. I've loved him ever since I've seen him on Whose Line Is It Anyway, and I think he's really one of the funniest people ever that I've ever seen on television, and such a brilliant, master of improvisation, and I can't wait to get to work with him so closely, since he's played Colin. So, and of course he's not new to singing, and he's not new to music, and he's been on Broadway, and so I'm very excited to get to collaborate with him on this. I think he's perfectly cast. I think Neil did a very good job putting together a very unique group of people to do this production. I think that nowhere in the script does it necessarily say that Angel is a particular race. I think that, of course, because Wilson Heredia won the Tony, that I think people identify with somebody Hispanic or Latino playing the role, but Justin Johnston, who closed the role, was not Latin, and there have been other Asian angels before me. Jose Lana was also an angel. Enrico Rodriguez was also an angel. Jake Monabat was also an angel, and all of those were Asian angels even before I did the role. Evan DeAngelis was also angel, and I don't think that necessarily those roles have any racial specificity to them. I don't necessarily believe that. I think that what Michael Bryce, the director, originally wanted to do was make sure that there was a diversity on stage that reflected the diversity of New York City. So, but since then, Michael has broken his own kind of initial quote unquote rules about ethnicity and these roles, because I don't think he had them specifically in mind, nor does the piece actually specifically say, oh, Angel must be Latin, or Joanne must be African American. It doesn't say that at all. In fact, I think that in the first workshop, Angel was Caucasian in the very, very first workshop before they went off Broadway, and the roles were very mixed, very different than what we know them to be today, ethnicity-wise. So, and I think that each person that steps into the role, it's one of those shows where it's a fine line between acting and being, because it's one of those shows where there's nothing to hide behind. Do you mean like it's when we did the show in New York, it was tables and chairs and lights, and it was actors on stage having an honest moment with one another. There's no costume, there's no big, what makes the show real is whatever you bring to it in that moment, whatever is honest to that person that is in those shoes or those heels for the night, and I think I bring all of me, all of who I am to that, and that is valid for the night that I'm doing it, and if somebody else was doing the role, they would bring their ethnicity and their culture and their background to that, everything that is them. I think it's a very fine line that you ride between Telly and Angel, for me anyway, and I feel like that's what makes the show work. That is different from a lot of other shows. Yeah, in my eyes, I always see Angel as somebody who understands that our time on Earth is limited and that each moment is precious. I feel like because he is terminally ill, he realizes that he has to make a choice. He can choose to live in the fear of dying, or he can choose to live in the joy of living every moment to its fullest. And I think he makes the choice for the latter. And I think that's a choice that certainly people who if you've been diagnosed with a terminally ill disease like AIDS, like cancer, that you somewhere down that line you make that choice. But I think that having done the role, what doing Angel has taught me is that I too should make that choice. You never know where you're going to be the next day. Every day is a gift that we get. Do you know what I mean? And so it's that's definitely what the role has taught me. I feel like the role has actually changed me than I'm changing the role. I feel like I've learned more from doing the show than I can teach the show. Either way, having done the show before, and that's definitely what playing Angel before has taught me. To live every day to its fullest, every moment to its fullest. To choose to live not in fear, but in gratitude and joy for today, which I think is the message of the show. Which is why it's detrimental that we lose him in the middle of the show. That the person that is in this group of friends that is the constant reminder to live no day but today. Suddenly you lose that person, and this group of friends now has to, in his memory, spread that message and live that message. Even though their friend even though they're constant, the person that is there reminding them of that every day is gone. I premiered my one-man show in New York this last Sunday. It's a show called Who Loves You, Baby? And it's a one-man show that I've been working on with my director, Alan Maroka, who is an actor who I met doing Pacific Overtures. But he's a Broadway actor. He's done Saigon, and he's done Shogun, and he's also currently on Sesame Street right now. And him and I collaborate on this show together. It's a show that is a tribute to my family and my parents, because my mom and dad immigrated to this country in the 70s, and didn't speak very much English. So they used television and they used their vinyl records and popular music of the 70s to help them learn English. And I kind of equated it, I had Sesame Street, they had Neil Diamond, you know. And so basically what I do during this show is that I raid my dad's vinyl collection and I sing all of those songs that they listened to in the 70s. And, you know, for Who Loves You Baby, it comes from Kojak. That was Kojak's famous catchphrase on the show, on the hit show Kojak in the 70s. And the actor who played Kojak was Telly Leung, which was my mom's favorite show, and that's why I'm named Telly. So it's kind of a love letter to my family, who isn't always so supportive of me being in show business, but I wanted them to understand that they're the reason why. You know, you named me after a television actor. I grew up with all of these vinyl records in the house. 3 words describe my relationship. Challenging, surprising, and that's a good and a bad thing. And it's unconditional, no matter what. You know, unconditional is a great word, because I feel like they can make you so happy and they can make you so angry, but no matter what, they're your parents and you love them. You know, so.